In this lesson, we're going to learn how to add and subtract decimals. Okay, so the way we add and subtract decimals, it's fairly simple, so I'll just start out with an example. Say we have, say, 43.5, and we want to subtract 27.22. So the way we do these is we figure out what the sign of the answer is going to be. So we have a positive subtracting a positive, and the first one is bigger than the second one, so the answer is going to be positive. So we're just going to set them on top of each other, but we have to be sure that we line up the decimal places. 2, 2. So you see how I lined up the decimal places right here. I did not do 43.5 and then 27.22 because here the decimal places aren't lined up. We have to line up the decimal places, so we do it this way. Okay? And the next thing we have to do is insert what we call placeholder zeros. So because there's nothing above this 2, we just simply insert a 0 because that is a placeholder for what would be the hundredths place. And from here, it's just simple addition or subtraction. So here's 0 minus 2. So 10 minus 2 is 8, 4 minus 2 is 2, 13 minus 17 is 6, 3 minus 2 is 1, and then we just simply drop down the decimal place. So the answer to 43.5 minus 27.22 is 16.28. Same thing would be for addition. Say we have, 16.7 plus 13.832. We'll go 16.7. Again, we have to be sure to line up the decimal places and now insert our placeholder zeros. Now we just simply add. And then be sure to drop the decimal place in the correct spot. Now, what can get tricky is when we are adding and subtracting negatives or having positives, subtracting positives that are bigger than themselves, because then in that case, it's not just like simply adding and subtracting integers. Because we're doing decimals, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So let's say, for example, we have negative 23.5 subtract 41.38. So notice how we have a negative number and we're subtracting a positive number. So we remember on our number line, so we have a negative number over here, 23.5. And we're subtracting a positive number, okay, that means we're going in that direction. So that means our negative number is going to get smaller, but the actual number itself, 23.5, that's going to be increasing. So that could be seen the same as, so we know our final answer is going to be negative. So we can just see this as positive 23.5. And let's just add 41.38, and then we'll just be sure to remember that it's a negative at the end. And then from here, it's just like regular adding and subtracting decimals. You place your placeholder 0, that's 8, 8, 4, and 6. So our answer to negative 23.5 subtract 41.38 is a negative 64.88. We just have to be sure that we recognize whether we have negatives subtracting positives, positives subtracting negatives, and things of this nature. So another example of that would be, let's say we have example 14. My handwriting is getting terrible right now. Let me start this over. So example 14.65 minus 20. Now notice we have a number subtracting another number which is larger than itself. So for that reason, our final answer is going to be negative, because 14 minus 20, well, that's going to be less than 0, so it's going to be in the negatives. So how much less than 0 is it? Well, it's just simply 20, and now let's minus 14.65, because whatever is left over after 20 minus 14.65, that's how much lower than 0, how negative we're going to be. And again, now it's just simply inserting our placeholder zeros. Okay, so now we have to 1, 9, 9, and 1. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 6 is 3. 5, 0. Okay, so that means 14.65 minus 20 is equal to a negative 5.35. And again, it's just kind of, you got to recognize whether you have a positive minus a positive, a negative minus a positive, negative minus a negative, or positive minus a negative. You have to recognize what it's going to be, and then from the beginning, intuitively determine what the sign of your answer will be, and then insert it, and then do the correct addition or subtractions. So I'll go through an example for yourself. So an example here, have negative 4.8 subtract 11.69, and I'll let you work on that right now. Okay, so now we'll go through this. So what is our sign going to be? So we have a negative subtracting a positive number. Well, that means it's going to go even further negative. If we think about our number line, we have 0 over here, we have a negative 4.8, and we're subtracting a positive, so we're going to go in this direction. So our negative number is just going to decrease to the left, but the number itself is going to get larger. So we again just think about it. So our final answer is going to be a negative, and we can just see it as 4.8 adding 11.69. Insert our placeholder 0, 9, 14, 6, and 1. Drop our decimal accordingly, and that is our answer. So a negative 4.8 minus 11.69 is 16.49. Let's go through one more example just to be sure. So say we have 37.42 subtract 50. I'll let you work on that right now. Okay, we're going to go through this. Now we got to find out what the sign of our final answer is going to be. So we have a 37.42, but when we subtract 50, we're going to subtract more than 37. Okay, so we're going to be in the negatives. So that means whatever our final answer is going to be, it's going to be negative. Okay, so how negative is it going to be? Well, it's going to be the difference between 50 and 37. So we just go 50 minus 37.42, insert our placeholder zeros, and now it's just our regular subtraction algorithm. That's 4, so we put a 9 there, go a 9 here, so that's 10 minus 2 is 8, 9 minus 4 is 5, 9 minus 7 is 2, 4 minus 1 is 3. So our final answer to what is 37.42 minus 50 is negative 12.58.